Alright, hey guys, welcome back to the discussion video, and today we will be talking about Lord Defections as of 1.5.9. I have a lot of information on this. Obviously the devs have talked about this previously, but we have a new dev reply on this thread, so I thought why not, let's just go over the thread and give people information they need. So without further ado, like always, this will be linked down below, and let's get right to it. Alright, so the original poster states, I'm not sure if this is a suggestion or if I need more feedback or it's working as intended. So my play now, I've conquered the final city of a faction. They have 0 lands. They still have the clans from the start, plus 4 hired mercenary companies. The total power at the moment is 500 versus my faction's 12,000. Yet to get peace, it says we will have to pay them 1,000 dinars a day. Alright, so before we continue, this situation with peace, I've explained it way too many times at this point. If you are the one, well, there's 2 things I have to say. First of all, whenever it comes to peace, it's the player who has to go first and initiate it, which sucks. I wish that the AI could initiate it themselves and kind of propose it to you, and then you can accept it, right? But unfortunately, how the game works, you have to propose it. Therefore, since you're the one proposing it, since you're the one that doesn't want to have any trouble with them, regardless if they only had 1 person and you had 100,000 people, you don't want trouble with that 1 person. Or in your situation, you don't want trouble with those 500 troops, right? You don't want them to mess with your land. You don't want them to raid. That is why you're paying 1,000 dinars a day, because you initiated it. You want them to keep the peace. For them, they'll probably make more if they are able to raid your villages than if they were to, plus they have more to gain. They want to have more land, so they do want to stay at war. Why you are paying 1,000 is because you want them to stay at peace while you pay them off so they keep the peace. That is why that's how it works, right? Regardless of the numbers, that's kind of how it works right there. And then he continues, so now it's about 100 to 200 in-game days, and there's no end to the pest lords, okay, who try to raid villages, get caught, and put into prison. 3 days later, they escape, rinse and repeat. And with 0 defections, you can see why this is now an issue. Alrighty, so defection-wise, the reason why it's very hard for clans to defect now, 2 things. First, defections have been worked on a lot, and there have been a lot of changes. First of all, lords will now not defect if they don't have a settlement. Before, if lords didn't have a settlement for a significant amount of time or even a small amount of time, they would just leave. That has been changed. Next, we did have improvements to snowballing, and what those improvements held was changes to defections as well. So, well, indirect changes, right? Because now lords in kingdoms, they do share their incomes. So if one lord is fallen behind, there is a shared income that will give that lord extra money if they are falling behind, and keep all the lords afloat. This does help the AI kind of, stay up and not go completely broke, which I think is good. And then also, in terms of mercenaries, there have been changes where lords will not take mercenaries unless they can afford it. And if this clan has 4 mercenary companies with them, that means they can't afford it. That means that they are making good money from raiding you and probably raiding other places. So they're making good enough money, regardless if they're getting caught, regardless if you have a lot more. They are still making good money to afford these mercenary companies. So they might have no land, but they still have an income. And obviously, since they share their income, if one lord does very good, then in a way that can get shared, and then everyone does very good. Alrighty, next. To be honest, this tanks the fun. Warband, if a lord didn't have any lands for a period of time, they would defect. Oh yeah, and the last thing I forgot to say about the defections. The devs have stated that the snowballing score has gotten so good, it's gotten so balanced to the point where they have to make it a little bit unbalanced, and that defections are going to be looked at, and the fact that there are very low defections is not a good thing. That it is currently a problem. It's not working as intended. There were good changes towards having less defections, but there were so many good changes to the point where it made defections almost impossible, which is the problem that you are facing right now. And this is something the devs are looking into. This is something the devs are currently working on. So this is in a way a work in progress. Like they got it down so good to the point where nobody defected, and before they started those changes, everyone would defect. So it's like they just put too much changes into it. You know what I mean? And now they kind of have to work backwards and kind of dismantle a little bit of that. It is what it is, you know? But he continues, totally in my play now. There have been about 3 defections, 2 Vlandia and 1 from the factions, to 1 I'm in. The Vlandias joined Western Empire. Ideally, this would be resolved by if a lord don't hold land for X days, they should defect. Okay, but here's the thing. This was the problem that we had before. It's not ideally. You might think this is ideally because it kind of makes sense, but this was what it was before all these changes to defections. And you know what happened? A lot of people left. A lot. Defections were a huge problem back in the day. Such a huge problem that, like, literally, what's it called? I made like a video on how to keep lords in your party and this and that. And that video just like got boosted up all the way. You know what I mean? Right away, as soon as I posted it, I got so much attention, and because everyone was looking for an answer. Like, it was such a big problem. People were like, lords were just leaving, regardless if they had land, and especially if they didn't, they would leave way too much. So there is a balance that needs to be struck. What happened before, it was all the way on the pretty much very bad side, and now it's on the very good side, and we just need to get to the middle. And that's where we need to be at, where defections don't happen a lot, but they just happen when they're supposed to. Then he says the king should be exiled like in Warband and make a comeback if one of their original city rebel. I don't know about that. Then he states, note, I haven't played Diplomat this time, so I haven't offered them gold to jump over to my faction, but I don't feel it's the vassal's job either. Well, yeah, definitely it's not the vassal's job. Then we have another player saying working as intended. That's cap though, man. Let's see what he posted, because I know this is cap, but let's see what he posted. So defection calculations last changed on 1.5.6. It's stayed the same since that day. Reasons why defections are reduced in 1.5.8 is they do not leave without fief, and they have not left without money easily now. Also, they have better money management. For example, they do not hire mercenaries if they have financial problems, stuff I stated. If you make 30-year tests, you can see several defections in some runs. Because they do not suffer from money easily, now I think we are ready to close one of the AI cheats, upgrading troops to cavalry without horses. However, decision is not about this. I will make some tests for this to see if anything is affected badly if we remove the cheats. By the way, if anyone finds time to run a 20-year test, yeah, there it is. So we can see how many percentage of runs have defections with no snowball score. So yes, it's not working as intended. It's still a work in progress. He literally says, can I have tests? Because we want to see the defection percentages and see if they're at the right level. It's literally what what? And he's actually stated more than this as well. Past this is just a part of what was talked about in this post. I remember because I made a video on it, but yeah, it's a work in progress, not working as intended. It literally shows right over here that it's still a work in progress. Let's see. And then we have another player saying something in a dev reply. So player states, what's interesting though is that after the last hotfix patch they made, defections felt more right, and I started to see more of it, not to mention Northern Empire, who's at that point had 5 to 6 mercenary companies attached to them, see it drop down to 1 to 2 at most. Mercenaries aren't really counted as defections. Mercenaries are like contracts you pay with money, so defections are like lords that stay with you as vassals. He states, after the patch, there have been more defections, so I don't know if it's sort of bugged or working as intended. My patience for it was lower than needed. Okay, I just don't think/feel it's right that a kingdom with 0 land keeps all or most of their original clans plus 4, 5, 6 several years and no defections. Yes, I think there should be some defections, but I think some people should still stay loyal to the kingdom. You know what I mean? Regardless. So I do agree there should be some, but I don't think everyone should just leave because they have 0 land. And then he states, I know it's a balance act, so that's fine. Red, when EA is over and we go to retail, I'll start using mods to tweak stuff. Okay. I was just curious if it was working as intended or if it was an unlucky/bugged. Before the dev replies, it is still a work in progress, as far as I know. But let's see what the dev has to say. He states, we will show financial situation of clans to player and encyclopedia in next patches. Very cool. More information. You're going to see how rich people are. Cool. Most important thing triggers defections are financial situations. There it is. So if they don't have money, and why these don't get triggered as much now is because there's a shared money pool. He states, you will see very poor below 15k gold, 15. You will see very poor lords, which is below 15k gold, poor lords 15 to 45k, normal 45k to 135k, and then rich 135k to 405k, and then very rich 405k plus. Keywords at encyclopedia about a clan. Okay, so that's what you're going to see. So you're going to either see if the lord is very poor, poor, normal, rich, and that's pretty much, and then you can tell about how much gold he has. So if they do not have lands, they will be very poor after several years. I can't read, I'm sorry. Jesus Christ, I'm slurring my words so much. And one of you guys told me in the comments, like, get some sleep. But man, I'm rolling, man. I'm going through it. I'm showing up every day, doing what I have to do, regardless. But what he was saying was, so if they do not have lands, they will be very poor after several years. After that, defections will speed up. So what he states is, after they lose land, they will slowly, their income is going to slowly, go down. And once they reach the very poor status, then defections will occur. So pretty much, I think this is, here's why I think this is good. This means if you have a kingdom, you don't have to worry as much as you did before, where it's like, I have to keep getting new settlements. Or these people are going to leave me, right? Because especially with these encyclopedia things, you'll be able to see what clans in your kingdom are doing well and which ones are doing bad. And what you can always do, remember, is you can run up to one of the leaders of the clan and just throw money at him. If he's let's say if he's at the poor poor status, right? And you don't want him to get to very poor because then he's going to defect. What you can do is literally run up to him and give him 100k and make him go from poor to rich, and then he's going to stay with you for longer until you can actually get more land. I think this is good. It gives you a time buffer between like, hey, we need more land, but we don't need it as soon as possible. We just, just over time, you get more time to kind of keep clans in your kingdom, which I think is good. And then he states, if a kingdom has good amount of accumulated kingdom budget, something like 3 to 4 million gold, it can take 3 to 4 years for their clans to go very poor situation, by the way, because 1 to 2k gold from their budget is distributed to poor clans each day. Told you, see? If they're doing very well, they share their gold. Still, it will be easier to follow what is happening with this financial situation and information. Maybe later we can also show kingdom budgets somewhere. See, there you go. It's still being worked on. Still, obviously we're going to see more updates to it and all of that. So good to see. But yeah, hopefully you learned something from this. I think this low-key is good. I think it's good that we're slowly gonna be able to see more stuff that's going on, and we can kind of like gauge what decisions we have to make. This is good. I always stated more information to the player is always good. But in terms of our defections going to be tweaked in the future, we shall see. I'm always following that snowballing thread that gets posted a lot. I have videos on my channel that we have talked about it more if you want to, obviously have more information about it. But that will do it for me. Ask me any questions, any concerns, and like always, stay safe.